Hi, Jill. I'm still trying to get set up for today and get my windows in order. Hi, Janella and Katia. So I am going to just, while I get a couple things finished in these next 5 minutes, um, put up a picture on my desktop. And then a couple minutes and we'll get started. I'll be back. Not the color I wanted. There we go. Well, I guess that's not going to work. What you're going to see is me flipping through my windows. Hi, Bev and Jeremy and Stephen. I'm Stephen. Are you a Stephen or are you, um, I don't know what I want to say. You're a man or a woman, I guess, or in between. And is Stephen the name you want us to use in class? Oh, wonderful, Stephen. Thank you. Oh, Northern Colorado, Jill. Northern Colorado. I said Colorado's on my mind. I live in Colorado, in northern Colorado, Northern Carolina. So quiet. Yes, I. Looks like it is time to start. Let me see if I've got all my windows that I want to use up. I think I'm missing one, but I got Inkscape windows and color windows and all kinds of windows up. Oh, you used to live in Boulder. I actually lived in Longmont for a long time, and then we moved to Loveland, and now I am up in Greeley. I have a son here in Greeley, which makes it nice since I don't drive anymore. I got one more window to get up, and I'll come back to you. Let's get these out of the way. Yeah, I'm back. It looks like it's time to start class. So I want to get I don't need the email. I gotta close a couple windows. I know I've got too many open. It is beautiful, and I just absolutely love the weather up here. I'm originally from West Michigan, and all those gray days and the humid weather, and I just we moved to Colorado in 1990, and I love it. I was actually born in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, way up on the edge of Lake Superior, and it's gorgeous country up there. We'd go back up there every year to see my grandparents, and then we moved down to West Michigan, so where I lived for 40 years. I love the Colorado weather, although we are really cold today. So, okay, we're going to talk about color today, and this is a little different than I've talked about color before. We're not actually going to talk about the color schemes, but actually the color wheel itself and how it's set up. And so I'm going to be showing you different styles of color wheels. And I got to get one more document up here. I think, yeah. And I didn't give you all the links that I'm going to show you today, but I am making a list of them, like a lot of other things I'm making. I have a lot to catch up on. So color is really fun, and I know everybody loves it. So I thought this week, instead of talking about all the elements in principle, well, color is an element and that we build on. And so the first link I'm going to go to, I don't think I have up, and that's a link I gave you. Understanding the color wheel. Let me go to the screen now. I guess before we get started, are there any questions from last week, any other week, anything, comments, questions? I don't think you can see me right now. No, you're seeing my my messy screen. I'm gonna hopefully it won't in my teeth because it's a Stouffer's lasagna. And I'll be right back. I forgot I'd forgotten to bring my water over here. So this first screen we're going to look at pull it back up here. Understanding the color wheel. This one I like all the information on here. And right here, these are these are the hues. Now hues and color. Color is all the colors that are in our world that we know of today. And there we can see about 10 million colors with our eyes out of the about 18 million existing colors. A lot of them we can't see. Our vision doesn't see all the colors that there are. You know, Stephen, the link is still works that I gave you for the class. I haven't put it public yet, which is probably why you're not finding it. But if you use the link, you can see. And I'm trying to think of, my brain has been going so many different directions this week that I'm trying to think of what we talked about last week besides the doily. I think we just looked at a lot of different doilies, and maybe somebody else who was here last week can help you with that one. Colors include every color possible, and they have specific names. Now the names are interesting because I'm going to go. Um, I have some Crayola crayons here in my thing. Colors have specific names, but they're not all the same for the same colors. It depends upon who's um, making the colors. I mean, paint companies give them all names. I have a crayon here. I have a box of 64 crayons, and I have this interesting orange. It's called macaroni and cheese. Oh, it's a little oranger than I think of macaroni and cheese. And there's dandelion for a yellow. And here is, let's see, I should be showing them. Well, maybe I will flip to the face up. I don't have my camera moved over for the down shot, but I'll see if I can get that maybe. Oh, can't get it because I don't have my camera plugged into my computer. This is one of those days. And I still don't see it. Well, that's okay. Go to the face shot. Like here's macaroni and cheese. Now I've got dandelion, because it's got to be in front of my face. I've got, this is what, I've got a Granny Smith apple. These are interesting. Here's two reds. I just got to hold them up by my face and then get close to the camera. Now, this one, can you see? Okay. This one, can you see how much, I can't get this other one in the camera. Can you see the difference in the two colors? This one is more purple, and it's called violet red because it's got more violet in it and it's more purple than, I just can't do this. This is weird getting used to. And the other, so this one is violet red, and this one is red violet. Now remember, these are Crayola names. And you can see this one, the red violet, is redder. It has a more percentage of red in it than the purple violet. And there's all kinds of different names that are given to colors. Now, hue, and this is more like just information for you to know. Hue and color are often used interchangeably. Um, there is, however, a technical difference. And that's because, like I said, colors are everything. But hues are the pure, I'm going to go to my screen again, bring this up for you. Oh, pattern rotation last week, notation, okay. Oh, that's right, we made arrows. We made the arrows too. And we made the zigzag over the arced chain pattern for a Josephine chain used in diagrams. No, I don't want to turn the filter keys on. So these are hues, and they are the color wheel theory. We're talking theory here, and that's another difference. When you see all the color wheels out there, um, color theory is based on the wavelengths of the light. And if you think of a rainbow, how they take the prism and split the colors up. And those are pure colors. They are not mixed with any other non-pure color, I guess I should say. They're not mixed with black, which gives you shades. They're not mixed with white, which gives you tints. And then in between that, you've got all the colors that have gray added to them. Remember, gray is a combination of white and black, and you have all the different values of gray in there. And so the pure colors are just these. Now, primary colors are often, you learned in school, yellow, red, and blue. And then you've got your secondary colors and yellow green. It's made this yellow green, which is the name they give to these colors on the color wheel. The pure hues are given the names. Yellow green is a secondary color. It's an equal mix of yellow and green. Okay, blue green, an equal mix of green and blue. So that's why those are secondary colors are considered hues also. And even the tertiary colors that you get out when you start mixing are equal mixes of, oh, what do we have? Like the green, one primary color, and a secondary color. But the secondary color, remember, is made up of yellow. So, but all of these on this row in the color wheel are fully saturated. That's what a hue is. It's a fully saturated color. It hasn't been diluted or changed by the addition of any other colors. Once you get out farther and you look at a color wheel, and we'll go to that next, but this is a really, I gave you this link, Sensational Color. It's a really nice one to explain the different terms and how they work. Now notice these hues, those are lighter. These hues on this particular representation of the color wheel are in the, what, 1, 2, 3, the fourth round. Now this color wheel starts with white in the middle. And I'm going to show you a full color wheel and we'll look at that too. And these are, talk about the different color value with tints, tones, and shades. So here we've got the tints. Now this is inside of this outer row of the hues. However, these are tints of each color with white added. This one inside of that has tones. These are all have gray, gray added to them. But the interesting thing is, notice on the tints, they all are the same tones. As, so that, which means how um, they all have the same amount of um, white added to them. So they look the same tone. They're not, none of them are brighter or more saturated than the other. They're all similar. And the reason this is important, and this is something I hadn't realized, um, and we're going to look at some threads later too, is that Shannon Brinkley, oh, and I forgot to pull up her site. I'm going to show you Shannon Brinkley Studio. This is, I don't know if I can remember my login right now, but she is all about quilting. And one of her color classes, one of her free color classes, um, talked about the fact that, you know, you'll see multicolor um, um, designs or quilts. And the reason that you can combine more than your typical pick your most dominant color and then pick two others that go with it that you can pick using the color wheel if you want to. And then just, excuse me, I'm having trouble with my, I want to keep half burping and half yawning, I think. Um, the reason you can color a lot of use a lot of colors together is if you stay in the same tonal range. Plus, maybe you could have one or two that are actually darker or lighter tints or shades of these colors. But that's what makes the colors match. And this will make more sense once we get to the big color wheel. And then we've got, oh, I went back. Here's the tones. Now here's the shades. Those have dark. So we had the hues on the outside on this representation. And then we had the tints, I believe we're in this round. And then we had the tones, and then we had the shades. So it goes, and if you went even down farther, you'd have black in the center, total black. And here you see it all together. Your hues, and like I said, this is a reputation. This isn't actually the standard color wheel, but this helps you understand color. And here are the tints with white, the tones with grays, and the shades with black. You know how dark it can get in the shade. Think of it that way. And the tints are more like your pastels, and tones are all kinds of colors in between. So this, and here, your color families. I don't think when I've talked about color families before. And like this is not showing you, or this is showing you the yellow-green family. And this is, the hue is it's like the father of the family. All the other colors, the tints, the tones, and the shades come from this hue. And this is nice too, because you can see all the different ones as you go out. And here are the main color families, and they're all from one of the outside the hues. Now the color wheel itself, I'm going to switch to a different picture. Color wheels are where you can find your um, color schemes. Now, the reason let me go to the next one. Not that one, let's see. Now this color wheel, I like it because it's bright, and you can see it. This one, and it's actually an RGB. This is why color is so confusing sometimes, is because what we were just seeing and what we're going to see, maybe I should go leave that one for last. Okay, this is the best second one. Now this I don't think I gave you. It's beachpainting.com. And this one also is set up similar to the other one. And you can see on the outside are your hues, your pure colors, the tints, the tones, and this is nice because it shows you and tells you which ones, and the shades. And here is just one that shows the hues, the 12 hues, the 3 primaries, and the 6. Now, here's where it can get confusing. We're talking about, like I said, a color wheel is derived from the light waves. And hi, Pasha. Well, I'm glad you made it. Today we're talking about color. So here is your, let me back that out a little. Wheel with the color names. These are the natural hues, or the pure hues, that all other colors are derived from one of these 12 colors. And the interesting thing I hadn't realized before about the standard color wheel, and the standard color wheel, I don't know if I don't think I have a tab for, is the Munsell, Munsell color wheel. And again, we're talking color theory. And you can use this color wheel for picking your complementary colors, your split complementary colors, all your color schemes, which is usually what I've talked about before in the design classes for color. But then after watching that video on color from the Shannon Brinkley, the quilter, and if you're a quilter, you want to go to her site and see it. Oh my gosh, it's free to sign. You have to sign up to get into her site, but it is free. There's a lot of free classes as well as classes that are you pay for. But it's an amazing site, amazing quilts and patterns and color. You can learn so much about color from there. And so now that's why I'm talking a lot about the hue, tint, tone, and shade. I had never realized before in all the years that yellow, your color yellow, and as you go around the color wheel, yellow green, this is called yellow green because it's the yellow is the primary color. Yellow, green, green. And now we've got blue green, which starts with blue. All these colors start with the name of one of the 6. And your 6 are your yellow, green, blue, violet, red, and orange. The other secondary colors will start with a primary color in the name. Just funny little thing that I realized. And so let's go on now. And this one I just showed you shows the tints. Now, after this, we get into a color wheel like this that shows you a lot of the colors in the main hue family. So here's the violet family right here. Notice this, and a lot of color wheels. Notice the size of the rounds. Notice how big this one is right here. That's because these are the hues, the parents of all the colors in the family. Thank you, Katia. And this one now starts with white in the middle and goes out to dark. Some color wheels, and they're still standard color wheels, but they are, some of them go from white on the inside to dark on the outside, or from dark on the inside to light on the outside. Whichever way they do it, it still has the same, it works the same. The hues are this wide around right here, and not all standard color wheels make the hues, the parents of all the families, wider. A lot of them do, which makes them easier. But then again, notice that you can easily find it on a color wheel because everything on this one that goes from white out to dark, this color right here, here you've gone to a lighter color. So now you're into the tints with white added. And the more white, the lighter it gets down to white. Here, if you look, even if it was the same size as the other rows, the next is darker. And so here are, here's a darker one, an even darker one, and as you add black to it. But if you stay, like the colors right here, say this particular shade of each color, their intensity or their tones are all the same. So you could, like in a quilt, mix all those colors. Now in tatting, because our pieces are smaller than a quilt, you still want to limit the number of colors you would have. And you still would want to probably have one dominant color and then two other colors that go with them, and then maybe a pop of some other color. And it's the size that limits us, because otherwise, when you've got all the tatted elements themselves and all the shapes and everything, and then you've got too many colors, it really doesn't look real pleasing to the eye. Now, these are all the color wheel, the color schemes. These are all guidelines, just like the elements and principles. There's always ways usually to do something a little different. These aren't laws. These are just guides to help you. And now I'm talking about the standard color wheel because let's go to this one here. Now this one you see goes dark to light. Now this one, I don't think this picture shows it, but color, you'll see like, hear people talk about CMYK color, which is printing colors, what prints out. And the primary colors there are cyan, magenta, and yellow. Three primary colors. They are not the same, exactly the same as red, or magenta is not the same as red, And blue, cyan is not the same as blue. Those are um, cyan, magenta, and yellow, and usually there's the K on the end for printing because um, they add black in there. Black and white are not colors. White, when you're talking about light, again, light waves, is all the colors added together create white light. All the total absence of color is black. Think about the night, you don't see color at night. Everything turns black. It's the absence of color because we're not getting color from the sun. But RGB is red, green, and red, green, and blue. Those are colors. Those are the basic colors for what you see on a TV screen, on the computer screen, on the things. Those are how they have to mix colors together to get those colors on a digital screen, whether it's a TV or a computer. So when you talk primary colors, again, it can be different base colors depending upon what you're using. Even in painting or and dyes, pigments make up those colors. Now, acrylic pigments, there's the pure colors. I can't even think of right now what they are. Is that red, yellow, and blue? Is the pigments they use to get those colors, they use they have different primary colors than even watercolor. Watercolors are made of different kind of pigments. So the way they combine um, uses not just like our color theory coming from light, which is your red, yellow, blue, and your secondary colors. So does that make sense? And that's why you see so many different versions of color wheels. Um, Questions? But the basic thing is, while I'm waiting for questions, that you use a color wheel because for no matter what you're working with, it gives you an idea and it tells you how, like if you look at your threads, I think I have a box of threads near me. Where did they go? I do have a box of threads near me. Now I gotta remember why I was getting my box of threads out. It does, no question at the moment. Okay, great, great. So we're gonna stop using that. And again, even on this one, we can actually look at it and use it to think about colors that can go together. Because, let me see how far I can zoom in on this. All these tones in between on a particular round, all those tones would blend together well because they've got the same intensity or saturation. Um, Intensity, saturation are often used interchangeable with chroma. Chroma is how bright something is. Um, Actually, it's not, yeah, it is saturation. Okay. they each technically have a teeny bit different meaning, but they're enough the same that people usually only use one of those names. And like I said, let me see if I can figure out which. Those are darker. Okay. These are the tints way at the outer row on this one. And this one too has this wider row, which shows you, now this has got 24 colors, so all of these aren't, well, these right here, they are the hues. They've got more than what we were talking about. They probably include the tertiary colors too. Now, tertiary colors are a mixture of a primary color and a secondary color. But remember, a secondary color is combined of two colors. Like yellow green has yellow and green, and then you're adding the primary color to it. And they can be in different quantities rather than just equal parts. So those three colors could be, if the secondary color, the yellow green, is equal parts, then adding in the third color, it could be three equal parts, or it could be less of the yellow and green, the yellow green color, and more of the primary color. That's what I was hoping, Jill. And color can be so confusing. And it's funny, I realized that the way I can approach color in this class, like I went back to, was the Shannon Brinkley class that talked about um, tones, the tones of the colors being combined. So on, like, say, this row here, everything that is the same intensity, um, that doesn't mean that you couldn't add in a different color, but and all the colors in one family, which is going out, and there's zillions, not zillions, millions of colors in between here, different combinations, and even different paint companies can use different pigments and different um, maybe chemicals that they put in. But that is, again, is the particular material you're working with. But still, overall, combining your colors together, you can go back to the standard color wheel. Let's see. Let's get rid of that one. This is another one that is, I just think is pretty. And these are actual combining. Here's the primary colors for red, green, and blues. Those are called additive because you're combining colors of I don't want to mix people up with light, but the way that these colors are combined together that make all the colors on your digital screens, like on here. And then again, remember, now this one is turned so red is at the top. And you've got your warm and your cool colors. Warm on one side, red down to green, and then your um, green, like a grass green here, all the way around to part of the red. Red can tend towards magenta or towards vermilion, and when you start adding in, when you get on the yellow side, think of the sun, the warm side, and on the cool side, you've got your blue water, cool blue water. This is a fun one. and I think I've gone off into another train of thought. I put in fiber artist color wheels. These are color wheels that people make, and they can be made out of so many different things. Um, Let me zoom in here. I guess I can't get any bigger than that. Well, I could, I guess, if I, no, I always forget. The plus sign is Pinterest now. Like, I don't want that. I want to zoom in. These look like fibers that have been laid out. And here's a patchwork one. There's a lot of patchwork ones that are just fun. And I am going to myself make one. Hay, I believe, had made the hues, the basic 12 hues out of tatted rounds, and there's a pattern for it. It's not up on the site on the online tatting class site yet. The color information's not up there yet. This I can't even tell what it's made out of. It could be fibers, but it's just fun to see how people represent the colors in threads and fibers. This one actually gave me an idea for the image. Now that would make an interesting thread color wheel on a ring and really be a nice art piece. I saw a, oops, I lost that. I also saw a bicycle wheel that it wasn't a color wheel, but it just had threads strung on it. And I thought, boy, you could do a thread color wheel out of that too, or yarn or things like that. So that is all where I'm going to leave color for today. We only got a few minutes left. What I'd really like to do here is go to Facebook and talk about the next round. Guess I don't have a Facebook tab up anymore. I thought I did, but okay, I'm going to get up a new window. Go to Facebook. Go to the online chatting class because I want to talk about, let's find it. You probably know Kaylin's design. Her different steps, I don't know if, and are so interesting. And the first thing I saw too, somebody made a comment and mentioned it looks like a cowboy to me in old-fashioned chaps, which I think is just so fun. You never know what you're going to come up with sometimes and see in what you tat. This, if you've ever seen, is it Moose Can that has, I meant to get all these sites up, but it's way too many, has all her little people in a circle holding hands. And we had a whole class where we discussed what those could be. This just needs a cowboy hat on him. And maybe a little picot down over here for maybe a spurs sticking out. Now her two colors, whoops, her navy and pink. Why do you think those work so well together? Think of baby colors, pink and blue. And I don't have the color wheel up to show you where they're placed. That's another thing we'll have to get into. I think what we'll do is for the next 2 weeks at the beginning of each class, for maybe the first 20 minutes, talk a little more about color and look at color. No ideas? Okay, well then, let's, oh, there was another, a process one. Let's see if I can find that. Not working. Somebody had their whole process up there. Look, wouldn't that be a pretty color chart? There's so many ideas. And you could probably, yeah, I mean, hearts you can put in a circle. That'd be a fun color wheel to make using all your threads that are closest to the colors on the color wheel, on the hues, um, like with all your handy hands threads. They're the same base hue. They're not the same because, let me go back to that. But they're the same tone saturation, I think. Even though the navy blue is darker, it's not a bright navy blue. And the pink is not a bright hot pink or anything. The tones are similar and the saturations are similar. Well, pink can go into purple and blue can go into purple. What are your base colors? Pink is a red. Red is the base hue. Red. Blue is the base hue here. And it might lean towards the violet, a dark, dark violet blue. Violet is the word purple, but technically they usually use violet. Again, words are interchangeable. Purple, just plain purple on the standard color wheel. A lot of people use purple rather than the name violet, but they're still, um, but they've got, they almost look like the pink has a little gray, so it's just a little duller than the hue that comes from the pink that comes from red. It's a tint, but it's a tint with some gray added in. Or dyes could be, in theory, that's what it is. Now, if you're talking about the actually dyes to get this color, you know, that could be a little bit different again. But yeah, they're the same kind of saturation, the same brightness or almost a dullness. That's not a bright navy. So does that make sense now? Yeah, yeah. So the base hues, like you mentioned, who mentioned it up above? The base hues. My phone is ringing. The base hues would be the head of the family, the red and the blue, or maybe even, like I said, the blue violet, or because the blue's the majority, it would be. It might lean a little towards the other. Um, Next steps in your design, I wanted to talk about for a minute. And that's where I want to look at. I had one window up here that was,
Hi there, it's Amy from Mindful Art Studio. And today I want to walk you through making a page in my Simplest Things journal. Now, this is a journal page that I made last year.
That is a, I should probably get my face back up here again. That's a little challenge I'm taking called The Simplest Things from Mindful Art Studio. And she does a lot with line drawings and watercolor and combining them simply and putting them into books and things like that. I'm going to find the page that I want here just a second to show you. I'm going to get a new page and do it. And what I'm going to put in here now is tatting doilies. And look at the images. Now this one's got a little more to it than a lot that we see. That one's $24.95 to buy it, but it has some areas, it has some contrast. It's quite busy all overall, I think. And some people like that. That's personal preference. There's not much variety in the space, the negative space. And the only variety that you can real or the only you can't even really see the medallion shapes very clearly. It's all kind of jumbles together, except for the ones where it's heavier in this round here and this round here. Um, I'm not saying it's a bad doily or anything. It's not to my taste. But when you look at doilies, when you go to put your next round on, I think we talked about that last week or the next week. Think about the shape of your spaces. Now we have this kind of a shape in the second round of that doily, just the arced shape. Um, but notice the difference between having denseness with a lot of rings close together, and then now there's clovers added on to a really round of, actually I think they're done all in one. It looks to me like it's got the wheel technique where um, you've got one up. It's hard to tell where but what I want to talk about is like the density and texture, the nice contrast between spaces that I think make um, a doily really unique and really beautiful. Now, these are very organic, but look at this one. I haven't seen this one before. Whoops, I guess I was better off looking at it up here. Look how geometric that looks. That has kind of a square. You've got your roundness, but you've got a really interesting, almost three rows of squares, and three rows of it is kind of nice. Um, and the width of this one is kind of the width of the next. So think about these things on the next round of yours. Oh, hens and chickens. Yes, thank you, Jeremy. And look at the spaces in here. You could even put a row of hearts. You could, but the spaces I think help define and kind of unify the design and the spaces, visual perception. Even though these are wide and not a line, we recognize, even without this row that actually looks like a nice line, we would perceive this, even this row as a circle because our mind finishes the concept that it is a circle because we're familiar with a circle shape. Two colors, beautiful the way they're spaced and the amounts of them. So think about those things when you go to put your next round on. Now the one that was Haley's, remember it had the big blue pieces, and I know um, in her comments about her doily, she said she wasn't sure it was conducive to a next round. But I think this one, I think she could do something, this kind of a shape around that. It's almost a triangular shape with the cowboy at the top. So think about your spacing. What do you think about the colors in this one here? Whoops. No, I'm losing everything. I think at this point we have 5 minutes left. I am going to go back and ask, and we'll look at some threads. I do have my box next to me. And what I've got is Elizabeth 133. I'm going to hold it up really close. What do you think makes all these colors go together? I guess it's best to kind of hold it like this, like that. What, after what we've talked about, what do you think makes all these colors work together? Any answers? Okay, how about this one? Now I'll hold up this one again next to it. What makes these work? It's not the contrast that makes them work. They are nice contrasts. Look at the brightness, the tones. Aren't these all basically the same tone, the same brightness? Tone and brightness. The intensity, yes. The intensity, the tone, yes. There's you can have contrast of, now here you do have contrast in color. You could have contrast in the light and the dark too. That could work. But if you've got one of the grayed out tones and put it with this, that might not look so well together. These two, all kind of the same intensity. And they're really kind of clear colors. So we're not talking pure, but clear colors. They're not muddy colors or um, I guess I can't think of a way. Yep. Their hue colors come from the same round on the color wheel. Remember we're looking at the color wheel? These would probably all come from the same round on the color wheel. Does that make a little more sense? Describing it that way. Yeah, they both emphasize a color. Um, and that's another thing about emphasis. It could be contrast, emphasizing one color, more of one color. The intensity is the best answer for that. They are mixed colors, but if you look at them on the color wheel, and I haven't gotten as far as putting together examples of this or finding examples of each of this because it really is a new way for me of thinking about color. And I think it works good for us in tatting. So that's it for today. Um, are there any questions? Write down questions during the week that you're thinking of. And those sites, for any of you who want to go more into color, more explanations, or just review things besides rewatching this video, go to some of those sites. And next week, I'm not quite sure what we'll do next week, but it will be some color plus something else. Oh, Jill, that's the thing. That's like me not realizing about the values on a single ring too. And I hadn't realized the fact that a lot of times the color wheel will have a wider one, and I hadn't realized that that's actually the base hues of a color. It's just a totally different uh, way of thinking about the color wheel and using it. And I think it helps a lot. And of course, what I'm starting to do, and I'll be working out this week, I've been getting handy hands catalogs for a long time, and I thought I'm going to start cutting them up and take the color like like this color. And the funny thing is, when I looked at all my solid colors, I've picked out some colors to go with some of these. Um, like this one, Vineyard. I love Vineyard. And notice again, all basically the same intensity. But when I've picked out some colors to go with this, oh, the other thing I should mention too is what you're seeing on my screen actually is a little different than the color that I'm looking at on the thread spool itself. And again, you've got the difference between the computer screen is digital color, and everybody's computer is calibrated a little different for color. Plus, you've got a different. I haven't used the word color model. Color models, um, CMYK, RGB. Those are all, and there's more color models. And like I said, they are. That's when you're talking about the actual materials that produce the color on the screen or the paint colors in paint. Um, you don't get an exact, even printed out, the printed catalog is not always exactly like what is on the thread. They're representations of the actual thread color. And there may be a slight difference. Maybe you don't notice any difference at all. Maybe there's not, but there could be. But I'm going to cut out all the little swatches and take each variegated and match it up to the little picture of each of the solid colors that the Handy Hands color chart gives that go with the variegated colors. And I'm finding that some of the colors I've picked, like the green I picked to go with this, is not listed as, now see when I bullet there, when I get really close, it looks more like, except that it's my lighting in my room too, because I know it doesn't look as, looks brighter in the on screen than it does in my hand. Why is Pantone in charge? Um, I don't know how, I guess I can't remember how it came in charge, but it's a standard for that, an international kind of standard that companies can use to plan. And I think because it's so big and widespread, they get together in a conference and plan the colors. Usually, I think it's 3 to 4 years. It's been a while since I've reviewed that. 3 to 4 years in advance, what colors are going to be the popular colors for the year. And then you see it everywhere, the car industry, kitchen appliances, paints, and all. They all use it. It's just a common, and I think it just happened to come because it was so big. But don't take my word on that. We could talk about Pantone colors too. Um, they're the colors that other people have decided are going to be the colors of the year. And Pantone has a whole wide selection of colors that are all kind of they're considered the standardized Pantone colors. I guess that's as much as I can tell you today without reviewing. You made a sample thread card of the thread. Oh yeah, you got with color, name, number, and a small piece tatted. Katia, that is wonderful. That is exactly what's a perfect thing when you're designing tatting. And I want to do that too. Paint shops have color palettes, yes. I love to collect color palettes from paint shops. There also are, let's see if I can find it. That was another one I had pulled up, but we didn't get to today. Um, paint, there's a lot of, if you go to Sherwin-Williams or Williams-Sonoma or what are all the different paint companies? Um, they usually will show you colors that go together. Better Homes and Gardens magazine site shows you colors that go together and have show color palettes. There was one called Design Seeds that was digital and I love it. I loved it, but I noticed it's no longer there, but it's available on a on an Instagram page. There were so many things I wanted to bring in today, but our time just runs out. Yeah, the color palette, the little cards, you can get them even at Lowe's or hardware stores that sell paint. Um, a lot of different places. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today, and that's it for today. And we will see you next week. News anchors must follow their advice. Oh, you mean the anchors threads? We're not taking my first thought news anchors. I'm thinking boat anchors, which is really crazy. Thank you, Jill. I haven't. I know I know she was not feeling well. I think more in the flu line, but that's all I know. Pantone's advice. Pantone is advice. So many things are. It's just that they became recognized as kind of the group for color, even fashion, the fashion industry. I'll see you tonight, Katia. See you guys next week or tonight. Bye bye.